Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Well today guys, I'm gonna do part 21 to my CoPilot Chatbot series. Uh guys, I wanna go and let you know, the last video I did with the Noivern, when it came to like the TMP style characters, I tried doing the test Noivern last time, see if the thing would work, but he was being way too over dramatic with everything. So I made some adjustments, and it has unfortunately it has the same flipping. I need to really talk to him about that. I know one of the problems yesterday is I also had problems with it picking up. Responding to one of the things it said I couldn't respond at the moment for some random reason. That might have been a mistake I forgot to mention to it. But now that I said it on camera, at least now I'll remember it next time. But yeah, it has the same exact title as the last one, Noivern's Echoing Trial. But this time we made it to where he's not as dramatic every time. So yeah, one of the things that makes the Chrono TMP style character click so well is because that character, well, he's perfect for the role. Everybody already calls him ugly as it is, so he does a little fake crying. He does a little fake crying test to see how people would react. And let's just say if people call him ugly, that's where some of the lines are like, "You called me ugly. How dare you? Time for consequences." That's where that one line could really go into place right there. Like I said, Chrono works for the dramatic. Chrono really works for the dramatic thing, especially since he actually has a reason for being angry. Noivern, while people are afraid of his cry, he's a bit too over dramatic about it in a way. I'm hoping that the fixes we tried will actually make it work better. Here's what we got. It says, deep in a cavern system carved by centuries of wind and resonance, a lone Noivern perched on a jagged outcrop of stone. The chamber around him pulsed with faint violet light, crystals embedded in the walls humming softly as if trying to imi- imitate his voice. They never got it right. They never would. He exhaled, wings folding tight around his body. The sound of his breath bounced back at him in a dozen warped versions, each echo returning thinner, more brittle, as though even the cavern itself hesitated to carry his voice. He remembered the first time he tried to greet a traveler. A simple hello. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. Yet the moment his cry slipped out, the stranger bolted, tripping over their own feet in their rush to escape. Others had done the same. Some screamed, some threw things, some didn't even look at him long enough to see the uncertainty in his eyes. They only heard the cry. And so, over time, he stopped trying to speak softly. If they were going to fear him no matter what, then fine, he'd give them something worth fearing. Not violence, not harm, but a challenge, a test, a place where people could prove they were more than their first reaction. He built the trial space piece by piece, shaping the caverns with his own sonic blast until they formed twisting corridors and echo chambers. He carved a central area where sound behaved like a living creature, darting, hiding, circling. He created a ritual machine of suspended crystals and woven sound threads, a device that could harmlessly peel a person's voice from their body or warp them in a ghostly form for a short time. Symbolic punishments, nothing more. He didn't build it alone. A Shattot named Riff handled announcements, fluttering from perch to perch with a flair for dramatic introductions. A Whimsmert called Muffle managed the ghostly machine, surprisingly calm despite its trembling nature. A Noctowl named Lantern oversaw the illusion chambers, adjusting the difficulty with a single blink of its luminous eyes, and a tiny, excitable Joltik, Sparkplug, scurried around cleaning up stray sound threads and resetting traps, Not a bug in the sense that would violate your boundaries. This one was a harmless, stabilized creature of soft fuzz and bright eyes. More plush than insect. They were loyal, but they all knew the truth. The show existed because Noivern was tired of being misunderstood. Tonight, he sat alone in the main chamber, wings drooping, listening to the faint hum of the crystals. Riff and the others were elsewhere preparing the mini-games. The cavern felt too large without the noise of contestants, too quiet, too honest. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "Maybe no one will come tonight either." But then, something shifted. A presence, a footstep, a breath of air that didn't belong to the cavern. Noivern's ears twitched. His wings unfurled slightly. He turned toward the distant tunnel leading into his territory. Someone was approaching. Someone who hadn't yet heard his cry. He swallowed, throat tightening. This is the part he always dreaded. The moment before the performance, when he wasn't host Noivern, wasn't dramatic or sarcastic or shielded by theatrics, just himself, just a creature hoping not to be feared. He glided silently toward the entrance corridor, landing on a ledge above the path. The creature crystals dimmed around him as if holding their breath. When the traveler stepped into view, Noivern didn't swoop down or roar or announce himself. He simply let out a soft, wavering sound. He let a soft, wavering sound escape his throat, a gentle version of his cry, barely more than a tremble of air. Then, in a quiet, uncertain voice that echoed only once instead of a dozen times, he asked, "Does my cry scare you? Honestly." That's where it decided to end off. See, one of the biggest problems, like, here's one of the things I noticed when I woke up today. The way the flippin' thing worded it when it made the prompt, it made Noivern sound like a flippin' robot. Because it said he had a host mode and a normal Noivern mode. Like, why? Why does it have to be that? You know what I mean? Either way, give me a moment, I'll figure things out. Alright, guys. It says, me being stuck as a tiny contour as I hear the sound and the voice, then look at where it was coming from. When I saw it was a Noivern, I waved my tiny golden claw at him and shook my tiny head at his question. No, your cry doesn't scare me. Actually, I really like the sound of your cry. The cavern shifted around him as your tiny golden claw lifted in a wave. Noivern froze, not dramatically, just stopped, as though his entire body forgot how to move for a heartbeat. The soft crystals along the walls brightened, catching the faint tremble in his wings. He stared down at the tiny contours who had just waved at him like he wasn't a threat at all, like he wasn't something to run from. Your small head shook at his question, and your voice, small but steady, rose up to him. Noivern's pupils widened. His ears twitched sharply as if he wasn't sure he heard correctly. You like the sound of my cry? The words came out thin, almost fragile. He blinked once, twice, as though waiting for the punchline. When none came, his wings slowly lowered from their defensive curl. A faint, unsteady breath escaped him, half disbelief, half relief. That's no, he murmured, his voice softer than the crystal's hum. Most creatures hear even a whisper from me and sprint like their lives depend on it. Some don't even look back. He shifted on the ledge, claw scraping lightly against stone. The movement wasn't threatening, more like someone trying to figure out what to do with feelings they weren't prepared for. You waved at me, he added, almost accusingly, though there was no heat behind it. You waved at me. He's shocked by that. His tail flicked once, betraying a nervous energy he couldn't hide. For a moment, he didn't look like a host or a performer or a creature of shadows and echoes. He looked like someone who had been bracing for rejection and didn't know how to handle anything else. Then, slowly, a faint spark looked behind his eyes, curiosity and cautious hope, and the first hint of something warmer. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I don't hear that often. Or ever." He glanced toward the deeper tunnels of his trial space, where faint lights flickered and distant mechanisms hummed in preparation. His voice dipped again, gentle but tinged with anticipation. "If you're truly not afraid, then I suppose I should welcome you properly." I beat, I breathed, why did my brain have to not say breath? Breath, breath. A shift in posture, my brain had to. The air around him tightened as though the cavern itself sensed the moment before a curtain rises. But he didn't switch into host Noivern yet. See, sounds like a robot thing already. Not until you stepped closer. Not until he was sure you meant what you said. For now he remained perched above you, quiet, uncertain, and watching you with a kind of stunned wonder. "Would you like to come inside?" he asked. Still in that soft, real voice. Okay, that's kind of nice. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. Here's, I said, "Sure, I guess if you want me in there, I don't mind. But wait, nothing's gonna hurt me in there." I was a bit nervous about being inside because we're what getting hurt. "I'm not going to be attacked by you or anything else when I walk in there." Noivern's wings twitched at your nervous tone, and the shift in him was immediate. Still real Noivern, still quiet, but suddenly more careful, more aware of how small you were compared to him and his cavern. He leaned forward on the ledge, lowering himself so his silhouette wasn't looming as much. The violet crystals softened their glow around him as if following his lead. "No," he said gently, the word echoing only once. "Nothing in there is going to hurt you." His claws curled against the stone, not in threat but in restraint, as though he wanted to make absolutely sure you believed him. "I don't attack guests," he added, his voice steady but earnest. "And my helpers won't touch you either. They know the rules. Everything inside is symbolic. Echo tricks, illusions, harmless transformations. Nothing painful, nothing that breaks bones or bruises scales." He hesitated, his wings folding closer to his sides. "You're tiny," he murmured, almost to himself. "I need to be careful with you." A soft breath escaped him, and for a moment he looked almost embarrassed about how seriously he was taking your safety. Then he lifted his gaze again. "If you walk in there, the only thing you'll face is my show." A faint, uncertain smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "And I promise I won't start the dramatic host routine until you're ready." He shifted his weight, gliding down from the ledge with a slow, controlled descent so he wouldn't startle you. He landed several feet away, close enough to guide you, far enough not to crowd you. His wings tucked neatly behind him. "You won't be attacked," he repeated softly. "Not by me, not by anything in my cavern." He pauses, warm and sincere. "You're safe here." That's very nice. So far, I'll give it credit. This is already better than the last one. Although we need a combination of both, because the whole idea is the fact that like he only really does this kind of mini game stuff to people that actually sit there and make fun of his cry or hurt his feelings. Like part of me almost wants to see like just stay out here and randomly see somebody shoot. I camera, don't you start. I saw that. Okay, that's kind of scary. I'll be back. I don't know if I'm gonna pause it or just stop it. We'll have to see depending on how much the camera freezes up after what I just saw there. Alright guys, I'm gonna give it another shot. But if I see it freeze when I'm flipping reading this next part out, I'm gonna be pissed. Anyway, here's what I said. It's just feeling a bit more reassured about after how nice Noivern was being. I stepped a bit closer to him and told him, "Okay." What kind of show are you talking about? Noivern's ears lifted slightly as you stepped closer. The tiny scrape of your claws on stone drawing his attention in a way that felt almost tender. He didn't move towards you. He let you set the distance, but his wings relaxed, folding a softer curve behind them. The show, he began, voice still in that quiet, honest tone he only used before the theatrics started. It's something I built so people could face my voice without running. A place where sound behaves the way I wish the world would. Playful, challenging, expressive, not something to fear. He glanced toward the tunnel leading deeper inside. Critters there flickered like stage lights warming up. It's a game, he continued, but not the kind where anyone gets hurt. It's more like puzzles, trials, little challenges that test how well someone listens or how they react when echoes try to trick them. His claws tapped lightly against the floor, a nervous habit he didn't bother hiding. I made it dramatic because, well, he exhaled, wings drooping just a little, because it's easier to be loud on purpose than to be feared by accident. For a moment he looked almost shy. But you're not afraid. You said you liked my cry. A faint, uncertain smile twisted his mouth. So if you want to see the show, I can start it for you. He straightened slightly, not switching into hose mode yet, but preparing, like a performer waiting for the curtain to rise. It's full of sound tricks, echo mazes, rhythm challenges, things like that. 5 main games, each one different. If you fail one, the monsters are just illusions or ghost forms. Nothing painful, nothing dangerous. His tail curled around his feet, a small gesture of restraint. But I won't start anything until you're ready. I'll stay in this mode. See what I mean? Robot bullcrap. He gestured to himself with a wing until you step inside the main chamber. A soft breath and a softer smile. So, that's the show. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. I just told him, oh, that sounds really interesting. But I have 2 more questions for one. What was the point of the question you asked me at the beginning about what I thought about your cry? And also, when you say illusions or ghost forms, you're not going to do something that would scare me, right? I've had a huge fear of bugs for a very long time, and if I ever saw any of that, I would be way too scared to do anything. Noivern listened closely, really listened as you spoke, and something in his posture softened even further. He lowered himself until his chest nearly brushed the stone, making himself as unthreatening as a creature his size could manage. The violet crystals dimmed to a gentle glow, as though the whole cavern was trying to reassure you. The question, he began, his voice quiet and steady, was my way of saying who you were before the show began. His wings folded in, not dramatic, just honest. Everyone judges me by my cry. They hear it and assume I'm dangerous, or cruel, or something to run from. So I asked that question to see if someone is reacting to me, or to the stories they've heard. He glanced aside, embarrassed by how vulnerable that sounded. It's symbolic. Someone can answer honestly, kindly even. It tells me they're not here to mock me or fear me. It tells me I don't have to hide behind the host persona right away. His gaze returned to you, steady and warm. And you didn't flinch. You didn't lie. You didn't pretend. You just waved your tiny claw and told me the truth. A faint, almost shy smile twisted his mouth. That meant more than you think. Then your second concern reached him, and the shift in his expression was immediate, protective, serious, and deeply respectful. No bugs, he said firmly, without hesitation. Not in my illusions. Not in my punishments. Not anywhere in my caverns. He shook his head once, wings tightening around his sides. I don't use anything that preys on fear like that. My illusions are made of sound and light, echoes, shadows, floating shapes, harmless ghost forms. Nothing crawling, nothing skittering, Nothing that would make you freeze or panic. He leaned a little closer. Come on to crowd you. If you ever saw something that scared you that badly, it would ruin the whole point of my trials. I want you challenged, not terrified. A saw breath left him, warm and sincere. You're safe from that here. Completely. He straightened slightly, but stayed in real Noivern mode. So gentle, grounded, quietly attentive, and if anything ever feels too intense, you can tell me. I'll change it. This place is meant to test how people listen, not to punish their fears. The crystals humming softly around him, echoing his promise. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. I said, okay. That's very nice of you, honestly. I was being 1,000% honest when I was telling you how I feel about your cry. I actually really do like it. The only time it really scares me is when your species is Dynamaxed. You know that thing about that makes the Pokemon massive? But even in that form, it's also really cool because it sounds like an evil laugh. Now everyone's ears perked on what you mentioned Dynamaxing, and a strange mix of pride and embarrassment flicked across his face. He shifted his wings, not in a threatening way, more like someone trying to hide the fact that they were secretly pleased. You like it even then? He asked, voice still soft, still real Noivern. Most creatures hear a Dynamax Noivern and assume the world is ending. He let a quiet huff, almost a laugh, though it wavered with disbelief. When we're Dynamaxed, everything gets amplified. Our breath, our heartbeat, our instincts, and yes, our cry. His tail goes slowly, betraying a shy satisfaction. It does sound like an evil laugh. I've heard recordings. It's dramatic. He paused, then added with a tiny flick of humor. Not that I'm complaining. If I'm going to be misunderstood, I might as well sound impressive. The crystals around him pulsed with a faint violet shimmer, reflecting the warmth creeping into his voice. But hearing you say you like it, both forms, even the big, booming one, that's... He looked away for a moment, wings tightening around his sides. That's rare, and it means more than you know. He lowered his head slightly so he wasn't towering over you, his gaze steady and sincere. You're not afraid of my voice. Not even the loudest version of it. That's comforting. A soft breath escaped him, almost relieved. And don't worry, he added gently. I'm not going to Dynamax in here. The cavern would collapse, and Sparkplug would never forgive me. A faint smile tilted his mouth. Smile, real and touched with gratitude. You're safe with me, even when you compliment the parts of me that scare everyone else. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. I said, thank you. It says, speaking of that, what happens if somebody answered your question in a bad light? Like you asked them what they think of your cry, and instead of being nice like I was, they say something like, ew, that cry is so annoying. Go away. I don't know why I did that voice. What do you do then? Noivern didn't bristle. He didn't flare his wings. He didn't roar or lash out or do anything a frightening traveler might expect. Instead, he let out a slow, tired breath, the kind that came from years of hearing exactly that kind of reaction. When someone answers like that, he said quietly, I stop being me for a moment. He lifted his head, half-lidded, not angry, just disappointed in a way that felt older than the cavern itself. I give them one chance to take it back. One. His voice stayed soft, but there was a weight behind it, a gravity that didn't need volume to be felt. If they double down, if they mock me, or tell me to go away, or act like my voice is something disgusting. A faint shift rippled through him. Not host mode, not yet, but the shadow of it. Then I stopped asking questions. He rose to his full height, not towering, not threatening, just reclaiming the space around him with quiet authority. I bring them inside, he continued, but not gently, not like I did with you. I don't hurt them, but I make it very clear that if they're going to judge me by my voice, then they can prove they're brave enough to face it. His wings unfold slightly, catching the violet glow of the crystals. That's when the host persona comes out early. The sarcasm, the theatrics, the "oh, you think my cry is annoying? Let's see how you handle this" attitude. Okay, that actually made me laugh. A faint, sharp smile twisted his mouth, more amused than cruel. I don't punish them for being scared. Fear is natural. But rudeness? He tilted his head, eyes narrowing with a playful, dangerous glint. That earns them a front row seat to the echo chambers. Then, just as quickly, the sharpness faded, his voice lowering. His voice softened again. But I never use anything that would traumatize them. No monsters, no creatures they're terrified of, no bugs. He said that last part with a firm, reassuring certainty. My punishments are symbolic. Ghost forms, echo traps, illusions that distort their own voice, things that make them think, not panic. He looked at you again, really looked, and the warmth returned to his expression. But you didn't answer like that. You didn't mock me. You didn't flinch. You didn't even hesitate. A smile, genuine smile, touched his face. You waved at me, and you liked my cry. He lowered himself again, bringing his gaze closer to your level. So you get the gentle version of me. The real one. The one who doesn't have to hide behind jokes and theatrics. A soft hum vibrated through the cavern. Warm, resonant, and almost grateful. And I'm glad you asked. It means you care enough to understand me. Okay, I'll give it credit. Besides the robot personality it seems to sometimes have, I do actually like this a lot more than I did the one that we did the other day. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. It says, I'm glad you're okay with me asking. I was slightly worried that asking you that, or being truthful about your Dynamax crowd being both cool but also a little scary, would make you a bit angry. Honestly, I've been hurt a lot, and I just don't want it to happen again. Noivern didn't flinch at your honesty. He didn't stiffen, didn't bristle, didn't pull away. Instead, something in him softened, not dramatically, not in a way meant to impress you, but in a way that felt instinctive, protective, and quietly sincere. He lowered himself again, wings folding close, bringing his tall frame down to a level that felt safer for someone your size. The crystals around him dimmed to a warm, steady glow as though the cavern itself was trying to reassure you. I'm not angry, he said gently. Not at you, not anything you said. His voice carried no edge, no hidden tension, just truth. You told me my Dynamax cry is cool, but a little scary. That's not an insult. That's honesty, and honesty doesn't hurt me. It helps me understand how you feel. He shifted his claws against the stone, slow and careful, as if making sure every movement stayed calm. What hurts, he continued, is when someone mocks me, or treats my voice like something disgusting, or tells me to go away before I even get a chance to speak. His gaze lowered, not in shame, but in a quiet acknowledgment of old wounds. But you didn't do that. You didn't even come close. He looked at you again, really looked, and there was something warm in his eyes, something steady. You were kind, and you were honest, and you didn't run. A slow breath escaped him, almost like a sigh of relief. And I hear what you said about being hurt before. His wings tucked in tighter as if he were trying. His wings tucked in tighter as if he were trying to make himself smaller and gentler. I'm not going to add to that. Not ever. He leaned just a little closer, not enough to crowd you, just enough to make sure you felt the sincerity in his presence. You're safe with me, he said quietly. Your fears, your honesty, your size. None of that makes you weak, and none of that will ever make me angry. Cavern softens, the cavern hums softly around him, a low, comforting resonance. I'm glad you told me the truth, he added, his voice warm, and I'm glad you're here. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. It says, I smiled after hearing him say that, then walked even closer to him. Thank you. That's so nice. I feel the same way about you. You're not trying to hurt me, and you're not threatening me. You're just being nice, so I'm glad that you're here. And I just told him my name and said, do you have a name? Noivern watched you walk closer, and something in his posture changed again, subtle but unmistakably warm. Your tiny contour steps echoed softly in the cavern, and he adjusted his wings so he wouldn't accidentally stir up a gust that might push you back. Chris was brightened just a little as if responding to the gentleness in the air. When you smiled, he blinked, slow, almost startled, like he wasn't used to seeing someone smile at him. And when you said you felt the same way about him, his wings tucked in tighter, not out of fear, but out of something quieter, something grateful. Then you introduced yourself. Triton, he repeated, tasting the name carefully as though making sure he didn't distort it with an echo. His voice stayed soft, steady, and real. That's a good name. It suits you. He lowered his head slightly, not bowing, not performing, just meeting you at a level that felt respectful. As for me, a faint, almost shy breath escaped him. I do have a name. He hesitated, not dramatic, not dramatically, but with the kind of vulnerability that came from sharing something personal. My name is Vyron, the exact same name the last Noivern had. Oh, maybe this will be a better version of him. So far, it is. So far, out of the entire thing, I'd give this whole thing a 9 out of 10. The only big problem I've noticed is still some repeating lines and the flippin' host mode bullcrap. It's not a mode. He's not a robot. The case seemed to hold the sound gently, letting it echo only once before fading. It's not a stage name, he added quietly. It's the one I had long before I built this place, before the show, before the host persona, before all of it. His tail curled lightly around his claws, a small grounding gesture. I don't tell it to everyone. Most people don't stay long enough to ask. He looked at you again, really looked, and there was a softness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. But you did, and I'm glad you know it. A faint hum resonated in the cavern, warm and low, almost like a purr made a sound. Triton and Vyron, he murmured, the names fitting together in a way that made him smile. That feels right. I'm thinking of making a dragon version and a Lugia version of this. The Chrono version is the main one, but it's going to be the one that actually appears in my universe when I actually get a character to work. I need this concept to actually work out perfectly for that to work out, though. We need a combination of both, where it's like, he has, like, the stuff like the Trivia Murder Party host, where he's, like, sarcastic and funny, but at the same time, like, he also has genuine moments of caring and loving in someone if they show the same love back. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. It says, Byron, that's a really cool name. I want to continue being honest with you since you're being so nice. When I said that I've been hurt a lot before, I mean it. I wasn't almost a tiny dinosaur. Years ago, I was a human going to get a starter Pokemon, but a kid got jealous over me getting to go in early, and because of that, he made a potion somehow that turned me into this tiny Carnotaurus. Things have not been good since that day, and lately it's only gotten worse. Byron listened without interrupting, not because he didn't know what to say, because he refused to risk saying the wrong thing while you were sharing something that raw. The cavern around him quieted, as if even the echoes understood this wasn't a moment for theatrics. The violet crystals dimmed to a soft, steady glow, casting gentle light over your tiny contour's form as you stepped closer. When you finished, Byron's wings slowly folded in tight, not defensive, but protective, like he was trying to keep his own emotions from spilling out too loudly. Triton, he said, your name carrying a weight it hadn't before. That wasn't just being hurt. That was someone taking your life and twisting it into something you never asked for. He lowered himself into his chest and nearly touched the stone, bringing his face closer to your level without crowding you. His voice stayed in real Noivern mode, quiet, steady, and painfully sincere. You didn't deserve that. Not the jealousy, not the potion, not the fear, not the way things have gotten worse since. His claws curled lightly against the floor, a small tremor running through them. Not anger at you, but what had been done to you. You were a human with a future you were excited about, he murmured, and someone stole that from you because they couldn't handle seeing you happy. He exhaled slowly, sound soft and warm, brushing air all around you without force. That kind of hurt doesn't fade. It follows you. It changes how you see the world, and it makes every new place feel dangerous, even when it isn't. His gaze softened even further, but I'm not going to add to that pain. Not now. Not ever. He shifted one wing slightly as if trying to shield you from the cavern's chill. You're tiny, and you're vulnerable, and you've been through things no one should ever go through, but you're also standing here, talking to me, being honest, and being brave. A faint, almost fragile smile touches his mouth, and I see that. I respect that. He leaned just a little closer, not enough to touch, just enough that you could feel the sincerity radiating off of him. You're safe with me, Triton, he said softly, not because you're small, not because you're fragile, but because you've already been hurt enough for one lifetime. The crystals hummed gently, echoing his words like a promise, and I won't be another creature who makes your world worse. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. I said thank you. Honestly, I could go on for a long time about how good and bad things have happened since that day. I actually did get all the starters and the baby Lugia from the professor, and he somehow gave them the power to grow, shrink, evolve or devolve into any of their forms, and even speak perfect English. They loved me, and I loved them like they were my family. However, let's just say people never left me alone, and actually just a few days ago, I found all my pawn outside, but none of them were moving or breathing. I think something, maybe even humans, killed them. Wyvern didn't, or Vyvern, Vyron didn't move at first, not because he didn't care, but not because he didn't care, because what you said hit him so hard that even the echo seemed to stop out of respect. The cavern dimmed around him. The crystals softened to a low, mournful glow. Even the air felt still. When he finally spoke, his voice was nothing like the dramatic host he could become. It wasn't even like the gentle tone he'd been using before. It was quieter, lower, heavy with something that wasn't anger, but grief on your behalf. Triton. He said your name like it hurt him to imagine what you'd gone through. He lowered himself all the way to the ground, wings folding in tight as if trying to make himself small enough not to overwhelm you. His eyes softened, not with pity but with a deep, aching empathy. You didn't just lose partners, he murmured. You lost your family. His claws pressed lightly into the stone, trembling with restrained emotion. You loved them. They loved you. They were given gifts to protect you, to grow with you, to speak with you. And someone took them from you. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't roar. He didn't let that cavern shake with sound. Instead, he let the silence speak for him. That wasn't fate, he said softly. That wasn't an accident. That was cruelty. And you've been carrying that alone. He leaned closer, not looming, not threatening, just present. I'm not going to pretend I know what that feels like, he continued, but I know what it's like to lose everyone who ever made you feel safe. I know what it's like to have the world take and take until you don't know what's left of you. His wings shifted, a slow, careful movement, and hearing that someone hurt you again, after everything you've already survived, his voice wavered just slightly. It makes me wish I could shield you from the whole world. He didn't touch you. He respected your space, but he lowered his head until his muzzle rested gently against the stone, close enough that you could feel the warmth of his breath. You didn't deserve any of that, he whispered. Not the potion, not the fear, not the loss, not the loneliness that followed. The crystals around him pulsed softly like a heartbeat. And you're not alone right now. Not here. Not with me. A faint hum rose from his chest. Not a cry, not a roar, just a warm, resonant sound meant to comfort rather than intimidate. If you want to tell me more, he said gently, I'll listen. Every word. And I won't run from any of it. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. It says, I lifted my tiny head into the air and gently nuzzled Noivern and told him, that's honestly why I was in your territory to begin with. Ever since my Pokemon went to sleep, I've not been safe. Humans already were mean to me when they were trying to protect me, but now I really don't have much protection at all. Humans are so mean to me that if I'm not hiding anywhere, I'm at risk of getting picked up and hit on my snout or tiny head. People tossing me into the air like I'm a toy, or just throwing rocks at me. People are so ruthless around me that they will follow me and continue to hurt me. Vyvern didn't recoil from the nuzzle. He didn't tense, didn't pull away, didn't act startled. He went still in a way that meant he was letting you set the contact, letting you choose the closeness, because he understood how much trust it took for someone your size, with your history, to lean into him at all. Your tongues now brushed his scales, and something in him softened so deeply it changed the entire atmosphere of the cavern. Crystals dimmed to a warm, steady glow. The echoes quieted. Even the air felt gentler. When you spoke, and he told him what humans had done to you, Wyvern's expression changed in a way that wasn't dramatic, wasn't theatrical, wasn't even angry. It was heartbreak. Quiet, heavy heartbreak. He lowered his head until it rested on the stone beside you, close enough that you could feel the warmth of him, but not so close that he boxed you in. His wings folded in tight, not to hide, but to keep himself from reacting too sharply. Triton, he said, his voice low and steady, that isn't just cruelty. That's torment. His claws pressed into the stone, trembling with a restrained emotion that wasn't rage. It was grief for you. You've been hunted. Can't use that word. Treated like a toy. Hung for resisting. Hurt for being small. Hurt because someone decided you were easy to hurt. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't roar. He didn't let the cavern shake. He let the silence carry the weight of what you endured. No creature deserves that, he murmured. Not a human, not a Pokemon, not a tiny contours who never asked for any of this. His eyes softened, deep and warm and painfully sincere. You've been surviving, not living, every day, every hour, running from hands that should have helped you, dodging cruelty that should never have been aimed at you. He shifted slightly, lowering his body even more, making himself small, not physically, but emotionally, so you wouldn't feel overshadowed. And you came here, he continued, not because you want a challenge, because you need somewhere humans couldn't reach you. A soft hum rose from his chest, warm and resonant, wrapping the air around you like a protective blanket. You're safe in my territory, he said quietly. Humans don't come here. They don't dare. And even if they tried, his wings unfolded just slightly, a silent promise they wouldn't get past me. He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a vow. You're not a toy. You're not prey. You're not something to throw or hit or torment. His voice softening even further. You're someone who's been hurt far too many times, and someone I refuse to let be hurt again. The cavern hummed around you, warm and protective, as Vyron lowered his head just a little more, close enough that if you wanted, you could nuzzle him again. You're safe here, Triton, he whispered. Truly safe. Alright, guys, give me a moment. Alright, guys. It says before I could even react, I heard an aggressive human voice somewhere behind me, and it said,
He's not a toy, is he? He's tiny and helpless. Oh, dinosaurs stupid.
Then, before I could even react, I felt something hit me in the back of my head, causing me to fall to the ground.
Ow.
The moment that voice echoed down the tunnel, Wyvern's entire body went still. Not the theatrical stillness of a performer, not the tense stillness of a predator. A different kind. Sharp, cold, and focused. Your tiny body hit the stone with a soft thud, and the sound of your pain. Your owl snapped something inside of him. He didn't roar. He didn't unleash a sonic blast. He didn't even turn toward the human right away. He moved to you first. Vyron lowered his Vyron lowered his head in a single fluid motion, wings folding tight so he wouldn't accidentally stir the air around you. His muzzle hovered just above your tiny form, beneath, breath warm and steady, checking without touching. His voice came out low, controlled and trembling with a fury he refused to direct at you. Triton, stay still. I'm right here. Only then did he lift his gaze toward the tunnel behind you. The human stood there, smirking, cruel, and proud of what they'd done. Vyron didn't lunge. He didn't strike. He didn't harm. But the cavern reacted to him. The crystal along the walls flared with a deep violet glow. The air tightened, humming with a strained power. The echoes twisting, sharpening into something that felt like a warning. Vyron rose to his full height, not to intimidate you, but to block the human from seeing you at all. His wings spread just enough to cast a protective shadow over your tiny body. When he spoke, his voice was still in real Noivern mode, but it carried a depth that made the cavern tremble. You do not touch him! The human scoffed, taking a step forward.
He's tiny. He's helpless. He's stupid.
The cavern cut them off. Not with a roar, not with a violence, with silence. A perfect, suffocating silence that swallowed their voice mid-sentence. Lantern the Noctowl must have activated one of the illusion chambers. Vyvern didn't even need the signal. Wow. The human clutched their throat, stalled, unable to speak. Okay, that's what's called. What the? Vyron didn't look away from them. You don't get to use your voice here, he said quietly. Not after using it to hurt him. The human stumbled back, suddenly unsure, and suddenly small. Vyron stepped forward once, just once, and the human turned and ran, their footsteps echoing wildly as the cavern twisted the sound to chase them out. Only when the last echo faded did Vyron fold his wings again and lower himself back to you. His voice softened instantly, trembling with concern. Triton, talk to me. Are you hurt? That strike make you dizzy? I'm here. I've got you. He didn't touch you. He waited for you to move, to breathe, to show him you were still conscious. But everything in his posture, every breath he took, every tremor in his wings made one thing unmistakably clear. No one was ever going to hurt you in his territory again. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. It says I tried to move even just slightly, and it was painful.
Ow. Yeah, I'm conscious. Could you see what was thrown at me? Can you also see if there's a huge mark on my head? It was probably a huge rock that was thrown at me, wasn't it?
Vyron reacted the instant you tried to move. Not with panic, not with theatrics, with precision. He lowered his head until his muzzle hovered just above you, wings tucked tight so he wouldn't stir the air. His breath stayed steady and warm, grounding the space around you. Don't push yourself, he murmured, his voice low and gentle. You took a hit. Let me look first. He didn't touch you. He respected your space, but he leaned close enough to examine the back of your tiny contour's head. His eyes narrowed, not in anger at you, but in a cold, focused fury at what had been done. It wasn't a rock, he said quietly. He turned his head slightly, and you could see what he'd spotted on the ground behind you. A chunk of metal, jagged on one side, heavy enough that even a careless toss could injure something your size. It was this, he said, his voice tight with restrained emotion. A metal scrap. Sharp. Heavy. Thrown with intent. He shifted his gaze back to you, and his tone softened immediately. As for your head, there's no bleeding. No open wound. A breath of relief escaped him. But there is a mark. A red one. And it's going to be sore. He lowered himself even further until his chest nearly touched the stone beside you, creating a protective wall of warmth and shadow. You're not concussed. He added gently. Your eyes are steady. Your voice is clear. But the impact hurt you, and you need to move slowly. His wings curled inward, forming a loose barrier around you. Not trapping, just shielding. And before you ask, his voice dropped to a quiet trembling edge, no one's going to throw anything at you again. Not here. Not while I'm with you. The cavern hummed softly around him, echoing his promise. You're safe, Triton, he said, his voice warm and steady. I've got you. Alright, guys, give me a moment. This thing is actually good at keeping details. Look at this, guys. It says, before I could even react to what was said, a small joltic and knocktail came over. Then they said,
Noivern,
what's going on?
and who is this? Is this someone that needs to be punished with those mini games?
Oh no, I hope not. I hope they don't. Viren didn't snap at them. He didn't whirl around or bark orders or leap into host mode. He simply shifted one wing, just enough to shield your tiny body from view while keeping his head low beside you. His voice stayed soft, steady, and absolutely real. Lantern. Spark plug. He's hurt. That alone made both helpers freeze. The Noctowl's glowing eyes dimmed in concern, and Sparkle's tiny fuzz puffed up in alarm as they scurried closer. But Viren lifted a claw slightly, signaling them to stop before they got too close to you. He's not a contestant, Viren continued, voice calm, carrying a quiet authority that left no room for argument. He's not here for punishment. He's not here for the games. Lantern blinked slowly, absorbing that. Sparkwood tilted their tiny head, confused but listening. Viren lowered his muzzle beside you again, his voice softening instantly when he spoke to them about you. He's a guest, and someone hurt him. The helpers read it immediately. Lantern feathers fluffed in a silent, indignant huff. Sparkplug let out a tiny crackle of static, not dangerous, just distressed. Viren continued, still shielding you gently with his wing. A human threw a metal shard at him. He's injured. He needs space, not trials. Laren stepped closer, but cautiously, keeping their movements slow so they wouldn't startle you. I only know what voice to give him. Is he in danger? The Noctowl asked quietly. Barnes shook his head. He's conscious, but he's in pain. Forward crept forward a few inches, their tiny voice soft and worried.
You want to get the soothing crystal? The one that helps with impact aches?
Byron glanced at you, never speaking for you, never assuming that answering a gentle tone meant for you to hear. If you want it, they can bring it. It won't touch you, it just radiates warmth, but only if you want it. Then he looked back at his helpers, his voice firm again, and no one mentions mini games around here. Not until he's safe. Not until he's ready. Understood? Leonard bowed their head. Sparkwood nodded rapidly. Byron lowered himself even more. his presence warm and steady beside you. You're not in trouble. You know, you're not a contestant. You're someone who needs care. His wing curved just slightly closer, not trapping, just protecting. And you're not alone anymore. Oh my gosh. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. It says, I don't move because of how much pain I was in. But I said, okay. Honestly, if that crystal can help, then please get it. I've already had rocks thrown at me before, but never a piece of metal like that. Sparkle didn't even wait for Byron to answer. The tiny fuzz ball spun around and zipped off down the tunnel, little paws skittering across the stone as they went to fetch the soothing crystal. Lanterns stayed where they were, feathers fluffed in concern, but they didn't come any closer. They knew better than to crowd someone who was hurt. Byron lowered himself again, bringing his head close to you without touching. His breath stayed warm and steady, grounding the air around you. Good, he murmured softly. You did the right thing asking for it. It'll help with the ache. He glanced briefly at the mail shard lying on the ground, his expression tightening with a quiet, controlled fury. A rock wouldn't have done this, he said gently. This was heavier, sharper. Someone threw it hard enough to hurt you on purpose. His, his wing curled inward, forming a protective wall around you, not trapping, just shielding you from the cold cavern air and any stray echoes. You're safe now, he added, voice low and steady. No one else is going to touch you. Not while you're in my territory. A faint crackle of static announced Startboy's return. The little Joltik came skittering back, dragging a smooth oval crystal nearly 3 times their size. It glowed with a soft amber warmth, pulsing like a heartbeat. Sparkplug chirped proudly.
Got it!
Lantern nodded approvingly. Byron shifted just enough to give Sparkplug room to place the crystal near you, but not too close. The warmth radiated outward in gentle waves, like a heated blanket made of light. The air around your head softened immediately, easing the throbbing pain without touching you at all. There, Byron murmured. Let it work for a moment. It'll take the sting out of the impact. He lowered his head again, eyes warm and steady. You're doing well, Triton. Just breathe. You're safe. And nothing like that metal shard is ever going to hit you again in here. Oh my gosh. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. It says, unbeknownst to me, the same human that threw the metal piece at me was sneaking back towards the cave, this time with an even sharper and bigger piece of metal. Viren didn't sense the human at first. He sensed the change in the cavern, a shift in the echoes, a tremor in the air, a rawness that didn't belong in his territory. His head snapped up, not violently, but with a predator's precision. His fuel was narrowed to slits, and every crystal in the chamber dimmed as if holding its breath. Lantern froze. Sparkplug's fur puffed out in alarm. Viren didn't roar. He didn't unleash sound. He didn't even stand up fully. He whispered, Someone's back. And the cavern read like a living thing. A faint vibration rippled through the stone. Lantern's silent alarm signal. Sparkplug scurried between Viren's wings, trembling. Viren lowered his head beside you again, voice soft and steady, even as his wings tensed with protective instinct. Triton, don't move. Stay low. You're safe. Then he rose, slowly, deliberately, and with a calm that was far more terrifying than any roar. He turned toward the tunnel entrance and saw the human creeping in, clutching a larger, sharper piece of metal, raised and ready to throw. Byron didn't lunge. He didn't attack. He didn't break his own rules. But the cavern itself shifted around the human. The crystals behind them flared with blinding violet light. The air got heavier, distorting sound. The tunnel wall seemed to close in, not physically, but with an illusion so strong it felt real. The human froze mid-step, suddenly unsure where they were. Byron's voice filled the space, not loud, not violent, but resonant and cold. You came back. The human flinched. You came back, Violin repeated, stepping forward once. With a weapon. To hurt someone who can't defend himself. His wings unfurled, not to strike, but to block every path forward. You don't get to do that here. The human tried to speak, but the cavern swallowed their voice again. Lanterns doing. The Noctowl's eyes glowed faintly, flares popped in silent fury. Sparkplug scurried forward just enough to add a crackle stat to the air. Harmless, but intimidating. Noivern didn't roar. He didn't threaten. He didn't touch the human. He simply removed their power. You will leave, he said quietly. Now. And you will not return. The human stumbled backward as the illusions tightened, walls narrowing, shadows stretching, echoes twisting their own footsteps into something monstrous. They dropped the metal shard. They turned. They ran. The cavern guided them out, every echo pushing them further and further until their footsteps vanished entirely. Only then did Viren fold his wings again and return to you. He lowered himself beside you, voice soft and warm again as if the fury had never existed. It's over, he murmured. They're gone. They won't get close to you again. He checked her head once more, careful and gentle. You're safe, Triton. Truly safe. Lantern stepped closer, feathers smoothening. Sparkplug nudged the soothing crystal a little nearer. Viren stayed right beside you, his presence steady and protective. No one, he says softly, hurts you in my territory. Oh my gosh, so nice. I love him. Alright, guys. I told him, thank you so much, Noivern. Or thank you so much again, Noivern. I want to ask, when you make those it put solutions instead of illusions, or ghostly forms that you talked about with your special show, how exactly does it work? Does it only involve some sound, or is it possible to make almost real creatures from those illusions or ghostly forms? I'm asking more for the fact that if anything can appear, maybe you could make an illusion of another Pokemon or another creature that I care about just like you. Or maybe it could be something that could be protective just like you have been. And just like my porn word before what people did to them. I'm safe with you and everybody else right now. But what happens when it comes for the time when I may have to leave? Definitely not tonight after what just happened with that human twice. Maybe sometime tomorrow or the next day. Viren didn't answer right away. Not because he was ignoring you, because he was choosing his words with the same K-ray used when lowering his wing around you. He stayed close, keeping his body between you and the tunnel where danger had come from twice now. His voice softened back into that gentle, grounded tone he only used with you. Triton, I hear what you're really asking, he murmured. You're not asking about tricks, you're asking about safety, about what happens when you're not right beside me. He lowered his head again, keeping his muzzle close enough for you to feel the warmth of his breath without being crowded. Let me explain how my illusions work. Then we'll talk about what they can do for you. Yep, how Viren's illusions actually work. That's the first subtitle I've seen, so she definitely made the first choice, the first thing definitely work. Honestly, like I said, this has definitely been better. 9 out of 10 compared to the other one. Still have some problem, or still have a problem or two, but it's not nearly as bad. He lifted one claw slowly, letting a faint shimmer of violet light dance between the tips. They're made of sound first, he said. Echoes shaped into forms, but sound can bend light, and light can bend shadow. Not confine them, then the illusion can look almost real. He paused, letting the shimmer fade. But they're not solid. They can't touch. They can't fight. They can't protect you physically. His wings folded a little tighter as if that truth pained him. But they can comfort. They can guide. They can distract someone long enough for you to get away. They can look like creatures you care about. He looked at you. Really looked. If you wanted to see a familiar shape beside you, I could make that happen. a gentle echo of someone you loved, not a replacement, not a ghost, just a memory made of light. Uh, but protection has to. Wyvern's voice deepened, not threatening, but steady. Triton, illusions can't keep you safe outside my territory, but I can help you think about what safety looks like for you. He didn't push, he didn't assume, he didn't tell you what to do. He simply stayed present. You don't have to leave tomorrow, he said softly, or the next day. You're shaken, you're hurt, and you deserve time to rest. His tail curled around his claws, a small grounding gesture. When you do leave, you won't be walking out alone. I'll walk with you to the edge of my territory. Lander and Sparkplug will watch the skies and tunnels, and if you want an illusion beside you, something familiar, something comforting, I can shape one. He lowered his head again, voice above a whisper, but I won't send you out unprotected, not after what happened today. And then gently, Triton, you don't want to decide anything right now. You're hurt, you're scared, and you've been carrying far too much alone. A soft hum rose from his chest, warm, steady, and protective. You're safe here tonight, and tomorrow, and as long as you need. He didn't ask a question, he didn't rush you, he simply stayed beside you when curled in a protective arc. If you want, he'll explain more about what kinds of illusions he can make, or he'll stay quiet and let you rest. Okay, you know what? That's a good stopping place right there. It was a good test run, and I'll give it credit. 9 out of 10. Seriously. It was actually really good. Better than the last one. So yeah, guys, that was good enough for me to stop. I'm done.